I wish I had a camera setup that I could put in the car to show FSD, because I'm like this newly converted fan of this self-driving system. It is, after driving it myself, I hear all the good things about it, but like I never really gave it a huge amount of time behind it. Now I have several hundred miles of letting it driving around, and big fan. So today, my wife and I are going to a wedding, and we're going to drop the kids off at my aunt's house in Midland. So the goal is to go from Wixom, that's where I live, over to Midland, which is about 85 miles from our house to hers. Then from there, we're gonna take another 35-minute drive to the wedding venue in Saginaw, where we're gonna have the reception. The car will then sit in that parking lot for about 5 hours or so with Sentry mode on, you know, running power and security and all that. We're then gonna take it from Saginaw, go back to Midland, to her house, again, pick up the kids, and then come straight back over to here. And it's gonna drive the entire way. I'm only going to intervene. I will only stop. I will only take over if something looks like it's about to be dangerous for any reason. So if it makes really weird decisions or it's late in merging, I'm going to let it do those things. I'm going to let it make all the decisions the whole way. This is a more advanced driving system than any other car on the market, because every other hands-free system that you hear about from all these other cars, they're only highway. And not only that, but they're only pre-mapped highway roads, and which, to their credit, is like 90% of the highways in America. But they're only pre-mapped roads, so you can go hands-free and let it drive you on the freeway, and then as soon as you get on the off-ramp, you're hands-on again. But this vehicle, this is a 2018. It's old. It's a legacy model. It's not even the newest hardware. All the newer ones are even smarter than this one, but this one can do it the whole way. Stoplights, roundabouts, complex intersections, unprotected lefts, all of it. I will only take over if it's dangerous. I wish I had a camera system I could put behind me. I know a lot of other content creators have that. I've never even thought about making videos about this stuff, but I'm just a big fan of it and I want to share it. So I'll make like little snippets and edit it into this video. And if it ever needs a complicated thing, or if it gets into a complicated situation and I have to take over, I'll put that in the video in there, because this is a big experiment for me too. I'm not like the Uber bull that's only going to tell you the positives, right? I want to call balls and strikes. And so whenever it messes up, I'm going to let you know. This is on version, for anyone who has a Tesla and has FSD, this is on version 12.5.4.1, running on a 2018 with hardware 3. Okay, so real quick, I wanted to differentiate something, because a lot of people who don't know Teslas very well will mix these two things up. There's three settings in a Tesla. There's traffic aware cruise control, auto steer beta, and full self driving supervised. These two here are included with every single Tesla ever sold since 2012. Every single one has this, the traffic aware cruise control and auto steer. This is lane changes for you when you have that activated, the auto steer beta. And this is like our 2015 generation 1 car over there has this stuff too. This is lane assist. This is adaptive cruise control. That type of stuff is already included in every single Tesla. But the paid upgrade is full self-driving supervised. When you get that upgrade installed, and again, you can do it with legacy cars as well. I always recommend people buy used, because like we did, we bought this car used, and this car already had enhanced autopilot installed on it, which at the time was a $6,000 upgrade. Full self-driving is an $8,000 upgrade as of the recording of this video. And so for just $2,000, we were able to have the computer module installed back behind the dashboard. Tesla comes out to your garage and installs it at your house. You don't even have to do it or take it anywhere. And that gives you a whole new menu system here. Now, when we're driving, this is currently version, like I said, 12.5.4.1. This is what Tesla calls their end-to-end neural net system. And what that means is that the AI that's built into the car is making every decision based on what it sees. It's determining based on artificial intelligence. Real world AI is something that is just, it's very like top of the line. Like it's very, very new in the world, and it's only going to get better as time goes on. But on the highway with this version that I'm on, 12.5.4.1, on the highway, we're still operating on version 11. Version 11 is not an end-to-end system. So it has, I believe Tesla says something like 300,000 lines of extra code in that version. It's actually less sophisticated because certain decisions that the car makes are already coded in like if-then statements. Probably I'm oversimplifying it, but the fact of the matter is, when we're on the highway, we're not using the latest AI to make the decisions. We're only using the latest and greatest AI when we're in the city and stuff like that. Is people trick-or-treating already? Why? I guess. Got people in the road. Handled it just fine. Looks like it. Yep. Very nice. Stopped for pedestrians crossing the road. Didn't have the camera up fast enough there. Oops. Didn't think it was gonna be very eventful. It's a right-hand turn, but I noticed pedestrians, so it's like, okay. It's gonna go through the yellow. Nice. I've seen it. I don't know how many times you've seen it, babe, but I've seen it. Like sometimes it'll brake hard for a yellow. It has, yeah, it's slowed down for. It doesn't like brake. I haven't seen it brake for a green, but I've seen it like let off the gas, almost like it. The one time I can recall, it was doing 40 and a 30, and it slowed itself down to 32 to go through the intersection. So, which, I mean, it was speeding, but you know, it slowed down to the speed limit to go through the intersection, which I guess I can't really be mad at that. It was just odd that it chose that moment to slow down. Okay, real quick note here, because I have a legacy Tesla, this is an older model that does not have a cabin camera looking at the driver. I am required to every so often touch the wheel and just provide a little bit of tension on the wheel, just to let the car know that I'm still paying attention. Newer cars that have a cabin camera, the drivers do not need to touch the wheel at all while FSD is active, as long as their eyes and their mannerisms and stuff in the driver's seat suggest that they're paying attention, the car will just go. But mine, you will notice that periodically I will touch the wheel, and that is purely for the sake of letting the system know that I'm still paying attention so that FSD will continue. And every so often you'll see a little icon appear in the little display behind my wheel, over on the left side of that display. Every so often you'll see a little thing appear, and that's mostly just the car telling me, or even beeping at me sometimes. That's the car telling me that, hey, you haven't touched the wheel in a while. So that's all that is. Nice. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I would have done the same thing because he didn't have his blinker on initially. So I wouldn't have known that he wasn't, you know, I mean, I probably would have went a little slower into it. You know, like it's a little jerky. It tends to hit the brakes a little harder than I would, but it handled it beautifully. Okay, I'm gonna stop the footage right here because I didn't notice this at the time when I was driving, but now that I have video footage, you see this yield sign here? So I think this is facing my direction. My wife says it's facing the other road and that this truck was actually supposed to stop, but it looks a lot like it's facing my direction. The car does not yield for this truck, even though it's coming at us. There's no yield there at all. It just keeps right on going. So it's possible that I'm wrong and the yield sign is actually facing that truck. But I just found it a little bit interesting that there was no yield there at all. So if that truck had just kept going, assuming that I was going to stop, there could have been a collision, I suppose. I don't really know. So that's just one of those things where after the fact, I noticed something and I wanted to point it out just in case that's, you know, for consideration there. So like I said, when we get on the highway, we're actually dealing with a different software set, okay? So we have the end-to-end neural net, the smarter setup, that's in the city, but the same decisions that we've had for almost a year now with version 11, that's what's applying on the highway with this version of full self-driving. In the next update, that will change. The highway set that I'm going to be dealing with, this older one that is on the highway, it likes to get in the left lane and stay there. So as soon as it has the opportunity to pass a vehicle, or sometimes even without passing a vehicle, it will work its way over to the fast lane. It does frequently go a little bit over the speed limit. It will regularly set its own speed to 75 or even 80 sometimes on the highway. So we have to watch that too, and there are settings to help mitigate that. In the center console, there is an assertive, average, or chill setting. And if you set it to a lower one that's not assertive, it will mitigate these problems a little bit more. You're also going to see how FSD handles potential points of conflict here. So as it wants to get to the left for not necessarily any reason, it also is going to encounter some vehicles that are coming and already passing it. And you can see how it does handle that pretty well in terms of whether or not it has enough room to get over and enough speed. And throughout the course of this video, you'll also see several instances where it needs to fit itself into a gap, and it accelerates to get into the gap and keep up with traffic, so it doesn't cut anyone off or keep anyone make anyone mad. Also, up until now, I've had the expanded full self-driving visualization feature checked, so that the display behind my wheel did not show what street we were on, and I've blurred some screens and stuff to try to keep, privacy with locations and stuff for, I don't know, whatever reasons. I'm putting this on the internet, right? But if I uncheck that, we can now see that we do have navigation on the left side of that, and energy usage on the right, and we're gonna be referencing energy usage a little bit here in the future of the video, but you can have like a less simplified UI in there if you want to. The biggest problem with this highway stack and that whole thing where it likes to stay to the left is that it oftentimes does not get all the way over to the right with sufficient amount of time to merge onto exits or take transitions. In this case, there was a construction area that was blocking the leftmost lane, so it only had to merge over a couple of times to get there. But this is the exit on I-75 to merge over and head towards Midland. This is one of those transitions that don't give you a lot of time because the on-ramp and off-ramp are really close together and they're kind of like coming on at the same time as people are exiting. It's a really stupid setup. In any case, this is the first intervention, the first time I have to take over as a driver. And the primary reason for this has to do with a truck that was also taking this exit, but kind of in this, like a little bit behind me, and FSD didn't really want to cut them off because they were close enough to where that would happen, but it didn't want to accelerate either because this exit requires 25 miles an hour to go around it. And so it got a little confused. It was very indecisive, and it ultimately did not make the decision that it needed to do, which was to speed up and get in front of this truck, because this truck is clearly not going to let us in. It's not going to back off. And so I had to intervene here, as you'll see right here.
Get over. Oh, didn't get over. Gotta get over.
And you can also see how close that truck is to my bumper on the driver display right there. It's right up against my butt. So this is one of those times where, again, FSD just didn't quite make the decision that it needed to in not enough time, and I had to take over, or we were going to miss our exit or potentially get some kind of collision conflict. And this is, again, the highway stack. Once this merges over to the end-to-end system 2, I'd like to be confident that this type of issue would be resolved.
It just turned left from the right turn lane, which was interesting. There wasn't anybody around, so it was technically safe. I didn't override it, but it was in the right turn lane and it took a left. Yeah, so that was, illegal, but safe, but illegal. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know if a cop would, per se, pull you over for that situation. I'm not sure they would do that. If there's nobody there, but it wasn't the maneuver that was supposed to happen. It should have gotten off the freeway and got into the left turn lane, of course. Not the right turn lane, but I still did it. Okay. So when you get off the highway, right, as soon as it turns us over off the off-ramp, that's when it goes back to being end-to-end. It goes back to being AI making all the decisions. So now we're on version 12. I don't know exactly how fast the turnover happens. So maybe 11 took us to the stop and 12 took us on the turn, or I don't exactly know when it happens. The car doesn't tell you when you're on a certain version or not, but yeah. Now we've never driven these roads before, so this is it's all fresh. Car's got to learn on the fly, use map data and lanes and all that stuff to make its decisions on where to turn and when. So let's see what it does here. There's a blinking yellow arrow. So this is what's called an unprotected left, right? I think that's what they call this, unprotected left, because you have to cross traffic. So yeah, he handled it pretty well. Seems fine. It's got cars parked on the side of the road. It's just gonna get over. There's no lines or anything on the street, so it's gotta go around things. There's a leaf pile over there it went around. Now I think
I thought that map is pretty realistic.
It should, I believe anyway, it should turn right into her driveway. I mean, it should. It just went around that leaf pile. The little pile of leaves on the end, it kind of turned just a little bit of left to go around that leaf pile. That's pretty cool.
I didn't see it.
Did you feel it? Did you feel it go a little left? Because that's, yeah. Got a person crossing the street up here.
I know.
It does say autopilot complete. So it says it's complete, but this is the driveway here. So I kind of want to see what it does to this driveway. Is it going to get confused, or is it going to go into the... Oh, yeah, it's going to pull right into the driveway. Oh, yeah, it does it. It's still going. And it stops. Very good. Yeah. All right, cool. Everybody out.
I just need you guys to help us. Just asking. Maybe if you guys can help. No, I think we're good.
Okay, arrived at my aunt's house. FSD handled the whole thing pretty flawlessly, with the exception of one time I did have to disengage, and that was coming from 75 merging onto 10. So remember, like, when we're on the highway, we're on version 11, and there's like a lot of code that dictates what that AI is going to do. So it's not the updated logic, but essentially we got to the point where we needed to merge over to get to the freeway to merge onto 10. And there's this truck that's in my blind spot slightly farther back, and it didn't want to merge over to cut that guy off, but it also didn't slow down enough to let him by. And everybody's kind of slowing down at the same time. And so basically what happened was it wasn't going to get over to that exit. And I had to basically put my foot down and move the wheel over and disengage it. So one mistake, but other than that, we have arrived in Midland. Now remember, because our vehicle is older, it's also not nearly as efficient as a lot of these newer ones are. And so I'm gonna put the wedding present right there. And so we're actually using, at some point, we kind of average about 400 watt hours per mile. That's how we talk about it with like miles per gallon, right? Fuel economy. So watt hours per mile is how we measure how much energy we use for the mileage we go. And 400 watt hours per mile is pretty high. For a Model X, I think that's even still pretty high, but because a US 10 actually allows people to go 75 miles per hour as the speed limit, and this thing here wants to go 78, 90, or 78, 79, upwards of 80, we ended up using upwards of 500 to 520 watt hours per mile to go that distance, just to keep up with the rest of traffic. And so that drains our battery quite big. So we ended up using half of our battery to get here. So we will have to charge. The other reason we'll have to charge is because in addition to it being an older one, it's only rated for I think it was 270 miles of range for the Model X back in this year. But we got ourselves the staggered 22s, and the bigger your wheels, you're going to lose range there too. So this trip actually ends up being 235 miles total is what we'll have to drive, and our car is rated for about 250 under ideal conditions. But ideal conditions do not include driving 75 miles per hour. They don't include having the air conditioner running and things like that. This vehicle is also pre-heat pump. So we have the actual AC unit and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff about the older ones that are not as efficient as the newer ones. But despite that, I think the cost, because of depreciation and everything, depreciation slams it down and then you buy it then, right? So you get there's trade-offs of going used, but this vehicle is rated for about, under ideal conditions, it's rated for about the mileage that we're traveling. So yeah, we're gonna have to charge. So now we're gonna head from Midland to Saginaw, where the wedding venue is. And for whatever reason, my phone on iOS 18 beta has decided that it just wants to stop recording almost as soon as I start iOS beta. So I don't have a whole lot of footage between Midland and Saginaw. Maybe it was an overheating problem. I did have it running 4K 60 video for an extended period of time, so it might have been that. It's not letting me record anymore, which is weird, but so far, no takeovers to Saginaw, although it is doing that braking for green light thing, which is interesting. But I wanted to catch it on camera. My camera keeps stopping unless I go front facing. For whatever reason, the front facing one is fine. I don't know. Okay, this is really interesting. So the speed limit is 35, and I'm letting it choose its own speed limit. So it's on max auto. So it's highlighting the speed limit sign, which is usually what it does to let me know that I'm speeding, like excessively fast. So it's like 35, hey, the speed limit's 35, but I'm letting it determine its own speed, and it's choosing to go 52. So like it's warning me, hey, I'm speeding, but it's the car that's speeding. It's like warning me about speeding while it doesn't. So future me here after the fact, I actually don't think that's correct. This is way out in the country. I think the speed limit on these roads is actually 55. I'm unsure why the car is displaying the speed limit as 35, but I think it's 55 all through here. You can kind of see the countryside here. Anyone from Michigan knows that this kind of area like this, roads like this, are typically 55 miles per hour. And I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but for whatever reason, it's displaying 35. It will also do the same thing on the way home as well, or on the way back in the dark. I don't know, maybe it's just a weird thing with this area. Okay, party's over. Fun wedding. Now it's time to see how it does in the dark, whether or not we have to deal with any deer. Okay, so from a parked position, from the parking lot, let's move over here somewhere. We'll just let it take us from here. In the parking lot. Go back to my aunt's house, and I like how it turns its blinker on in the parking lot. Like, what is that? I don't know what. Just use the blinker in the parking lot. It's okay. It's just being super safe. I actually think it's kind of an advantage, so to speak, to have this thing driving in the dark like this in case of deer. Like, one, it's going to detect those types of things maybe before my eyes can, but two, I get to have my foot like hovering over the brake pedal. I get to have it like essentially resting on the brake, ready to press it. I don't have to move my foot. I don't know if that split second of difference is going to make a difference, but it's kind of nice to just feel like at any moment I can just push down the pedal instead of having to switch over. I don't know if it makes much of a difference. I usually feel like it does as far as the risk of deer crossing, but I usually feel a lot better about it when there's a car in front of me. Yeah. You know, like if they're gonna jump out, well, that's gonna be that guy hitting them, not me. But deer sometimes will just cross as quick as they can, and that sometimes means just popping out between two cars too. So I don't know, pop out on the sides, but I don't know. Okay, that's cool. So this is not really a lane.
That's just a shoulder. It's not really a turn lane, and it still used it, which is what that car did. And I think it's pretty acceptable to use those as a turn lane, but oh, we're getting cautious here. It's like it's refusing to go faster than 44, 43. It's kind of, wow, that's really bright. Go ahead, his brights on. Stop sign. Look at it, it's slowing down now. Yeah, it definitely, it really does need to begin slowing down sooner. This is a four-way stop, so that guy's got to slow down, but it needs to, I want it to kind of glide to regen, and it, yeah, and it picks up really fast, and that's another reason for, I think that's another reason why it's just a little less efficient than driving myself, just because I think I'm a pretty efficient driver, so I tend to reserve energy a bit more, and that plus the little phantom brakes that it does, like it's doing right now. It's hitting the brakes for some reason here. Not brakes, just letting off the accelerator. So it's down to 42. It is a 35 mile an hour zone, so I mean it was already speeding. So it might just be detecting the speed limit there, yeah. But it should already know the speed limit. It's part of GPS data is speed limits. But it reads signs. So I didn't get it on video because I'm not recording all the time. But she'll tell you what happened. We just had a big phantom braking incident. At a green light, it started just hitting it hard. It's like it wanted to stop at the green light. It got all the way down to about 20. And I had to put my foot on the accelerator to get it to go through. So that's definitely a ding against it. And I believe that was the same. It did that on the way to the wedding venue as well. I don't know if it was the same intersection, but it did it there too, where it hit that time. It actually did hit the brakes. And it didn't just let off the accelerator. It hit the brakes at a green light. It was green all the way through, just like this one is. So I don't know what it's seeing. I don't know if it just doesn't like the shadows that are there or what's going on there. The display shows green light as well, so you can always see the lights in this display when they're there. It showed green as well, so I can see that the car identifies it as a green light, yet it still hit the brakes, almost like a person would do if you thought for a moment, oh, am I supposed to turn here? But that's not the case, because this thing knows it's supposed to go straight, and it just chose to do it anyway. So very strange. Don't know why it does that. It's not the first time it's done it, and I unfortunately didn't get it on camera, but definitely happened. And that was not the smoothest turn. It did it, but certainly not the smoothest turn. I'm going to give that turn a D plus. It passes, but it's not graceful. That one was a little bit weird too. So definitely a little weird at night. But I mean, with the exception of that green light, it hasn't yet done anything unsafe. It's just a little harder on the brakes than I'd like. It's going, it's pretty consistently going under the speed limit, which is okay. There's deer in the area and stuff too, so I guess that's probably fine. But it's certainly not driving as smooth as I think just a regular, standard human driver, certainly not me, would do. I think I'm a little smoother than it is. Let's see how it does this one here. Is it gonna be a little more jerky here or smooth? Okay, that was smooth, slow. A little slow, very careful, but smooth, nevertheless. So yeah, we've arrived here at my aunt's house, pretty safe. It is 8:20 p.m. and the rest of my drive is obviously at night. So we're in Midland. We have about an hour and 45 minutes to get back home, and batteries currently sits at 31%. So we're gonna have to charge. And so I wanted to give you guys a preview of sort of what that experience looks like, because I think a lot of people think you're gonna have to find a charger, but you don't have to find a charger. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so here's the nav, and currently there's no destination. Now my car is an older Tesla, and as such, it is limited to 150 kilowatt charging speed. So this vehicle is gonna have to sit longer than a newer one would have to. This one's limited to 150 kilowatt. Newer ones can get up to 250. even 300 if you're in the Cybertruck and stuff. So Tesla has a really easy way to put your home address in. You just swipe this to the left, or sorry, to the right, and it will pop your destination in. And if you are unable to reach your destination, it will automatically route you as a part of your route to a supercharger that makes sense. Unfortunately, because of the efficiencies of FSD, we've actually used a lot more watt hours per mile than I would normally have if I was driving. And so in this case, we're going to have to stop in Bay City to charge, and then we can go straight home from there. So only one stop for 25 minutes. Now, if I wanted to, though, I can amend this route, and I could punch in, for example, this button here, and that will bring up all the superchargers that are in the area along our routes and stuff. So there's one right there. There's a few down in the Lansing area. We can zoom out and you'll see even more. There's lots of superchargers all around in Michigan, and pretty much anywhere where you're going on a highway, you're gonna have access to them. But this is the one I wanted to go to, and it's Schwartz Creek. And it's right on our way home. I won't be able to reach this. I'm gonna be short by about 2%. In order to reach this, just because of the inefficiencies of driving as we have. So we're gonna stop in Bay City, and then our car, because it charges slower, will need to stop for 25 minutes at this charger, and then we can go straight home, reaching home with 10%. What I could do instead, and what I think I'll probably try and do instead, in fact, just to show you that it can be done, is instead of stopping here for 25 minutes, what I'm gonna do instead is stop here for 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna go to Schwartz Creek, and I'll probably charge for another 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at Schwartz Creek. And then I can get home with a lot less charge. I don't care about getting home with 10%. It tries to route you so that you'll get home with 10%. As long as I get home with 1%, I'm happy. Yep, that is a blinking yellow. It's slowed down a lot for a blinking yellow. It didn't stop all the way, but it stopped a lot. I'm down to 20. So there's definitely something going on with that, as far as being too cautious. Maybe I thought it was a yellow and going to red, but it can identify blinking yellows. We've seen it identify blinking reds and blinking yellows in the past, so we shouldn't have much of a problem doing that. Very sharp turn there. That gets us on this road. Yeah, go. What are you doing? Okay, well, I had to put my foot on the accelerator for that one. Unsure why. It didn't want to go at the green light. That's a little weird, but all right. It felt like I was trying, or like I was going to. Very hesitant for some reason. Nighttime is a question mark for me right now, for sure. All right, there's a Cybertruck at the supercharger, by the way.
I don't see it.
Yeah. 41 kilowatts. So what it says we need to charge is 25 minutes to get home, is what it said. But if I end the trip while we're charging, and I say I want to find chargers, and I select Schwartz Creek, and I select that as the destination, what it should do now, I don't know if that's going to be accurate, so we'll see. But there are a lot of chargers here. There are a lot of cars here, including a Cybertruck right next to us. And so like a lot of people drawing off the same chargers. And so we're only able to get, right now, we're only able to get 71 kilowatts right now, which is half the speed we should be able to get. So instead of being here for 10 minutes, as originally guessed, it's gonna be 20. It looks like 15 maybe. But basically, as soon as I see Schwartz Creek with like 2 or 3%, I'm gonna go. Because I can get there and then we can charge there instead. So while we're in the car charging, we can go to Meijer and shop for groceries or something, or we can chill and watch Netflix in the car. We have this Legacy one, like I said, so like we have this long screen. All the newer stuff has the regular 16:9 horizontal screens. They're all better screens, but we can select a Netflix movie if we want to.
10 seconds. Don't make me get the fire extinguisher.
Okay, so the other Tesla that was next to us on this side left. These are V2 superchargers. They're called version 2. And they actually share a current with the stalls next to them and stuff. So since we had to park in between two cars, everything was slower. But it is now much faster. We're up to 136 kilowatts now, 135, which is much faster, much more what I expected to get. And so now we can now reach Swartz Creek. We can now reach it with 5%. I like it. Okay, so this is a construction zone, and see, we're kind of maintaining the flow of traffic here. So it has its maximum speed sort of dynamically set. The speed limit's 45 when workers are present, but it's detecting the speed limit signs that are on the side of the road and stuff. It's detecting those signs, and those signs say 60. So it's setting itself to 60, and it's just sort of going through the flow of traffic. So yeah. It's gonna get over, and then watch this. Oh, see right there. So that's an overtake. That's me having to overtake.
Actually not entirely sure what it was doing there. Sometimes I wish it would rely a little bit more on map data. That right lane was gonna end pretty much right when we merged over into it. And I don't know if FSD would have jerked back into the left lane or not, but I wasn't willing to give it a chance to do so. So yeah, I took over and kind of guided us back in. It doesn't show it on camera, but that action that I had to take to get that back over was actually quite jerky. And it woke my wife up in the back seat, and she was like, what the heck's going on?
Okay, take the exit. Okay, we got 25 mile an hour on the curve. At least that's what it says, but you can usually take these things a little bit faster than that, and that's what we're doing. All right, so this is the Swartz Creek supercharger. There's 10 stalls here. There's usually not a lot of people using it. There's 10 stalls. Now it wants to follow that route, but I'm not gonna let it follow that route because it doesn't need to follow that route. So I'm gonna override it here because I want to go a different path. I don't want it to go that way. It's you know, it can follow the GPS if it wants to, but I'm gonna go this way just because I know it's faster to get here from here. So, and then so long as my phone's battery doesn't die, I'll also put in this video how easy it is to charge at a supercharger, because it is the easiest charging experience of any EV you'll ever have. It's so easy. A caveman could do it, man. That's what I'm gonna say. So we're just gonna back into that spot. Just gonna back into that spot right there. There's basically nobody here. There we go. That's good. That's fine. All right, so here, all you gotta do is this. All you gotta do is this. You get out, you grab your cable, and you plug it in. And that is it. No credit cards, no ID, no figuring out what to do, no buttons to press, no screens to look at. Done. That's it. Very easy to see. So we get about 400 miles of range per hour. And it says that we'll need to be here for 10 minutes to reach home. That's what my destination is right now. But again, it's trying to give me a little bit of cushion, and I don't need cushion for this trip. So as soon as that says, you know, like 2 or 3%, I'm going. Actually, what I'm gonna do instead of just waiting there until that says 3% or whatever is I'm gonna take this opportunity to just go in. Remember, like I said, the superchargers are pretty much always at a place where it's very convenient. So this is Meyer, and I'm just gonna walk in, use the bathroom, and then I'll leave. So this is another advantage of an EV, is that you don't have to be by your car to charge. You don't have to be by your car to get range. It's not like a gas station where you have to stand outside and at the pump, right? You don't have to do that. No credit card, no time, no nothing. You just park it, and then I can, for example,
go to the bathroom. And by the time I'm done in the bathroom and I get back, we'll have enough range to get home. So there really won't be any waiting around. It'll just basically just park, go to the bathroom, and go. Easy. All right, bathroom excursions are done. I'm gonna walk over to the car and we'll have enough to charge. And there's another freaking Cybertruck just pulled in and parked next to me. I think these things look sweet, all right? Like, you look at pictures of them and they're kind of like, man, that's ugly. I agree. But when you see them in person, they're badass, man. Like, these are like, you just see them in person, just see them in person, man. It's freaking cool. I want one. I really do. I want one. Let's go. Pulling out of Meyer, letting the car take over now, and it says that we'll be home with 12%. Yes, I'll touch the wheel. 12%. How long do you think we were stopped there? How long do you think that was? Less than 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. I mean, I walked in. It might have been 10 minutes. I don't know, but I walked in to go to the bathroom and came back. So that's pretty much all it was. I don't think it was 10 minutes. I'll have to look at the timestamps and see how long it was. I don't think it was 10 minutes, but it really wasn't like waiting around time because, yeah, just get out and take care of standard bodily functions that everyone has to take care of.
Throughout this trip, we had one problem that just kept popping up, and this is the end-to-end part of it. This is the full version 12 part of it doing this, so perhaps this is something that's just going to get fixed in the next version, I hope anyway, and that is that the vehicle is quite timid near intersections, but only when the light is green. It's very weird. Like, it's slowing down for green, and it actually outright tries to stop. At least at this one here, it actually tries to stop at the green light, and I had to put my foot down on the accelerator to tell it not to do that. Once you tap the accelerator, it kind of tells FSD, okay, never mind, we're supposed to go, and it just sort of takes off and accelerates on its own from there. You only really have to tap the accelerator, not hold it down. But that is driver input, that is human input, and it's supposed to be autonomous, right? So this is a part of it where it's like, this is a FSD is supervised. I mean, this is a, you know, it's a red, so, but it needs to go right, so it's not in the right turn lane. It's not in the right turn lane. It should be in the right turn lane, and it's not there. It's still turning right. It's still gonna go right, but it didn't do it from the right turn lane. So that's kind of back-to-back problems there, man. It has certain parts that it's not doing necessarily correctly, and you have to sort of guide it in those moments. I like to think of it as having a perpetual student driver always driving the car while I am right there with full control of the vehicle at a split moment whenever I want. I like to think of it like that. This is like having a student driver who just happens to have 2 billion miles of experience and probably should know by now not to, you know, stop at a green light. I don't know, man. It just, there's certain things it just doesn't quite do right now, at least in my older model Hardware 3 Model X. With 8%. So, I mean, I really didn't need to stay at that last supercharger as long as we did. Going to the bathroom, you know, it just took more time than was necessary, so just the way it is. Total supercharge time was 19 minutes. So 19 minutes of stopping at chargers. Probably could have got away with 15 total in that particular instance. But it's okay. I like 19 is fine. Especially when you consider that pretty much every mile we drove that wasn't the, I think it was $16
$16 total, $15 total in supercharging fees. Pretty much every mile we drove that wasn't from those miles was completely free from the sun. So pretty cheap trip for 250 plus miles of driving. I'm coming. Okay, so I have like a summary for everything, right, for the drive. So we had 252 miles driven today on the trip, on the trip meter or whatever it has. I had 3 critical safety disengagements in those 252 miles. That included getting into an off-ramp to switch from 75 to 10, like I said earlier. Second critical safety disengagement I had was on a merger or a transition, I guess, from one highway to another. It was about to drive on the shoulder, which was dirt. I thought, I had never seen it do that before. I have footage of that as well. I've never seen it do that before. It was very weird, but you know, that's why we pay attention. That's why it's called FSD supervised, to find it in places like that. Both of these, of course, are on highway. I think there was another instance of getting off the highway in which it didn't really want to merge off, and I had to basically make it do it. I don't think I got that one on camera because my battery's at 1% right now. But again, these are all highway stacks. All of my critical safety disengagements were highway stack, and that's 11. So I'm hoping the next version, the next update, when it gets end to end, when it actually gets AI making decisions instead of listening to predetermined code, that's going to be a much better fit for highway. And then I had what I call acceleration assists. And that's when I don't disengage FSD. I let it continue to drive and do everything, but I put my foot on the accelerator to get it to move because it's not making the decision. It's not moving like it should. And in those, I had 11 of those instances. 5 of them were for this phantom braking thing, or this braking that it's doing at intersections where they're blinking yellows. It's actually braking and slowing down too much at blinking yellows. And then it also went and did it at green lights. We had 4 instances where it was slowing down, like actually braking at green lights. I don't understand that. And that's in the city. That's the actual AI making those decisions. So maybe that's got to be something that gets improved over time. But overall, I mean, disengage 3 times, put your foot on the accelerator, 11 times, 252 miles, like 6 hours of driving or so. It's not bad. I'm going to give it because of the safety disengages, I almost feel like I should just give the whole thing an F, but those are, again, 2 separate stacks. So highway stack, I'm going to give it an F. I have to, because if I hadn't stepped in, it would have probably caused damage or caused a problem. And then for the city, I'm going to give it a C+. I think I'm going to give it a C+, maybe a B- for the trip today, because there's just a lot of that. What are you doing at intersections? I don't understand your decisions. It had times where we saw that earlier, where it was turning right, but it wasn't in the right lane, or it turned left, but it did it from the right lane for it to right turn lane. It's done some weird things today. Was not a perfect trip. I'm going to give it a C+, B-, somewhere around there. But ultimately, we got around. We did our whole trip today, and I basically did no driving. So that's still pretty cool.